All right. So I was looking, see how long ago it was since I did the first one. 2 years ago. Probably should have revisited that before I did this, but it's too late now. I was in the middle of the movie. I'm like, I'm not gonna stop this movie, so we're gonna move forward. I know what happened in the first one. If you don't remember, let me reenact. You son of a bitch! You moved the headstones, but you didn't move the bodies. That's pretty much it. Uh, so yeah, this is a sequel. Brings back most of the cast except for one, and most of the behind the scenes except for uh, Toby Hooper. Steven Spielberg didn't come back, and you can kind of feel that because Steven Spielberg was one of the writers of the original film, and you can feel there's it's kind of like that's a cool. It's kind of just kind of like a retread of sorts, only set in a instead of a the original was in a it was in suburbia, I guess. It was like a housing development, but this one is like in actual suburbia. So this one is kind of different. I'm gonna sit down now. But like right away, this movie, I thought this movie was good. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like there was something missing, and maybe that was Steven Spielberg and Toby Hooper, or just Spielberg, if you believe the rumors that he directed the first one by himself. You know, but yeah, but you got Craig T. Nelson, Joe Beth Williams, Zelda Rubinstein, and Heather O'Rourke back. And the kid who plays Robbie. They didn't get Dominique Dunn to come back. She was tragically murdered by her ex-boyfriend shortly after the release of the first one. There's a whole curse thing, which kind of carries over because, like, the guy who plays Kane in this, he died shortly before the film was released, and they had to have another, like, a voice artist guy come in to redub some of his lines later. But I think that's one of the strengths of this is the villain of Henry Kane, Reverend Henry Kane, just creepy motherfucker. The actor's performance, if this was his last acting performance, you went out with a bang, sir. Rest in peace, good sir. Just fantastic. The creepiness of him walking around just singing, God is in his holy temple. They do it great too, because like you first see him when they're going to the mall or grocery store, whatever it is. They're at the store, the market, whatever. And you see him just kind of walking towards Carol Ann. Kind of like It Follows, walking towards Carol Ann, and she's kind of looking at him. And then when he walks through someone, which looks decent, I won't get to the effects in this movie, because some effects look okay. Others look meh. But he walks through and she realizes, oh, this is a ghost. And then he's like, well, what? Just the way he talks, he was like, what's the matter? What's wrong? She's like, I can't find my mommy. Well, I can help you. Why don't you come with me? And she's like, no. He's like, okay, I'll just stay with you here until you find her. And he just starts singing that again until they realize she's not there, and so they have to run back and get her. Yeah. It's very creepy. And then later, when he shows up at the house, it immediately starts storming and raining, despite the fact that they did nothing to make the atmosphere look like it. It looks like a freaking sunny-ass day with the rain coming down. Maybe that was intentional. I don't know, but it lessened the creep factor. It just started storming, and it got dark, and it was when he's there, and then when he leaves, it's gone. I think it would have been more. Maybe it was a little over top that way, but I think it would have worked better, because they don't, like, Steve doesn't see him as a threat at first. He's just like this weird old guy. But I'm like, wait a minute. How did I not realize that it started raining when he showed up and now it's gone? They also introduced this character of Taylor, a Native American. When you go back and watch older movies where they're still calling them Indians, it's really, you hear him saying, you go, Native American, but this is an older movie. This was 1986, I think it was. So, yeah. The first one came out in 1982, right? This is 1986. Correct? Hold on. And it's supposed to take place 1 year. It'd be on the disc, wouldn't it? Hold on. Let me look. It'll say on the disc, it's one of those two-sided discs. Hold on. The guys to... That's 3. What the guys to 1986. Okay. So... So yeah, the first one came out in 19... Was it 84, the first one? 82, 84. Hold on. I don't have to put it back up anyway. I don't mean to keep getting up. 82. So 4 years have passed. Heather O'Rourke doesn't look like she dates any, but maybe they did some trickery. I don't know. She looks fine. It's supposed to take place 1 year later. The kids, as far as I can remember, look fine. They were supposed to actually write in where the older daughter was at college. But then they didn't because of her death. So they just ignored her. They could have just said she was at college. You know, they could have just had a passing line. Oh, like you can have Joe Bill Williams on the phone. Oh, that's great, honey. I'm glad you're having a good time up in college. Okay, I'll tell him. Okay, bye, honey. I love you too. And then she just tells Steve, oh, she says she misses you guys and she loves you guys. There, that's all you'd have to do. But no, they don't talk to her. She's basically replaced by the grandmama, which is what I'm going to call her, grandmama. Forget her name. Jess. Excuse me. But she dies partway through. But basically, you get this moment where she calls Carol Ann on a little toy phone. And they do this weird framing where she's talking on the phone. And then she hangs up and it pans down to show it was a toy phone. It's like, okay, that's supposed to be creepy. Because it's just kind of like... She's in her room. Why would there be a phone in her... I don't know. When the creepy stuff starts happening, it's not as creepy as the original. You know. They start giving us exposition about Reverend Cain and how he trapped people like big. Okay, so they make Jo Beth Williams' character Diane. They make Diane and her and Carol Ann clairvoyant in this, psychics basically, and the grandmama is too, and they demonstrated this at first by showing that she asked Carol Ann for different colored yarn, and she just goes like this, or this side, goes like this, and gives it to her without looking, and she does it again, goes underneath. Cause like she does just reach her over, that's fine, but she asks for the yellow one just to go underneath and grab it without looking. She just, wonder how they did that. Did they have like a mirror or something that she was looking at? Well, she was looking down. I don't know. It's really weird. I don't know how they do that, but yeah, I sort of caught it the first time. I'm like, wait, was she not looking for it? The grandma kind of has and then she asks again. Like, yeah, because I think they do it twice. Because if you miss it the first time, like I sort of did, you'll catch it the next time, and she actually digs under to grab it without even looking. I guess you can have that. No, because you turn your head trying to. Your eyes would also dart away, and they'd see it. I don't know. Yeah. I will say though, if there's one scene that wasn't necessary, Steve getting possessed, like they show that Cain is working his magic on him, but then he's getting drunk off tequila, and he drinks the worm in there, and the worm is like a possession from Cain, turns him like they have the makeup that kind of makes him look kind of like Cain, he's singing God is in his holy temple when he's God is in his holy temple. It's like when he's, and then he comes up and he sort of rapes Diane, but not really. Like, we don't get any further than it is creepy though when he comes in and Carol Ann's like in a towel and he's like, hey honey, and I was like, I don't think this kind of scene would happen nowadays, but hindsight, 80s was 80s. 80s gonna 80s. So yeah. Also in the scene before this, the mom is taking a bath with the daughter. I know that they do that. Parents do that. This kid is what? 7? That's a little too old for that, but like, I think she was older than that, but like, I don't know, at least 9. Right? She's younger than my son, but younger than Robbie, who's also older than my son. I think Robbie is like maybe 9, so maybe she's like 6, 7. Supposed to be anyway. It's just really weird. Maybe they did make her look younger. Dude, who knows? But it's really creepy. And then the whole thing happens, and like Taylor is there to help them, and then he just disappears. He's like, I have to go. I'm just like, why? You say you're to help them. He leaves, so all this shit can start happening. Like, he's just gone. And then like Regina shows up, and she's like, well, I'm here to help you with your clairvoyant thing, and then she disappears too until they get to they go back to Costa Vista from the first one. They're like, whole thing with the car, she's in the car, and they say she's protected in the car. And the whole thing with Taylor and wanting the car, and then all this leads to a joke at the end of the movie. Like the whole, how he can talk to the car is angry. Yeah? Mm-hmm. It's like, what? It's a car. So they have a hard time getting the car to start. Get away from the freaking flying chainsaw. Which the effect of the flying chainsaw and the electric cables are cool, although I don't understand how the dog didn't get electrocuted. The dog had one of those things in his mouth, and he's fighting it off. It's like, why is he not getting electrocuted? But he gets zapped a little bit and jumps in the car, and then they drive to Cuesta Vista. So, yeah, and then we get our climax where they all have to go into the caverns together, and basically, like, Carol Ann doesn't get captured this time, but they still have to get her back because they go in, and Diane and Carol Ann are grabbed by Kane and pulled into the other side. And for this movie being called The Other Side amounts to maybe 10 minutes of the runtime. Wouldn't it be something if we did sort of like an Insidious thing where Carol Ann is taken towards the beginning and Diane and Steve have to then jump to the other side thanks to Taylor, and we see all the weird imagery? I know this is 1986, but it would be something. No. The other side of the title that's in the title of the damn movie is like 10 minutes long. That's it. And it's, well, maybe if the whole thing would have been the way this was, then maybe it wouldn't have been. But once they get to the other side, it's a horribly green screen bullshit that is terrible. It's terrible. They have to band together, and then Taylor gives them just this spear that he throws out to kill Kane, even though I know I heard apparently he's in the third one too. That one takes place at a high rise and only brings back Heather O'Rourke apparently, and Tajina, but apparently haven't seen it yet. Seen it on it, but yeah. So he kills Kane with that spear thing, and then the spirits still take her away, and then they're like, no, because she's too far away and they can't get to her. And then the spirit of Grandmama, who I forgot to mention, passed away earlier. Maybe I did. The spirit of Grandmama saves her. Is there a more generic way to do it? I'm like, of course it's Grandmama, because she was in the movie. She would have been in the movie if there wasn't some kind of payoff to it. Speaking of payoffs, they are brought back to the land of the living, and then we do the car joke again. He's like, car's happy. Car's happy? What does it say? Wants to go home with me. It does? Mm-hmm. So he gives him the keys to the car and he starts to drive off. Like, bye, Taylor. And then Diane's like, wait, Steve, how are we going to get home? So they start running down the street. And the only thing I think of is that they put this funny scene in there to add some levity for the scary sequences that we just saw, which weren't that scary to begin with. Just saying. Overall, it's not as good as the original. I'll give it the middle of the road. They could have been a pretty good, wasn't for the bad effects towards the end. The stop motion stuff, I will still say that stop motion, as corny as it is, can hold up better than some of today's CGI, and that doesn't speak well for CGI. The stop motion stuff is pretty good, but then when you do the green screen, it reminds me of some of the early James Bond stuff. Although the early James Bond stuff was worse than this, but it's close. It's very close. But yeah, so it's middle of the road, but I did enjoy it. It was a nice watch. So what are your thoughts on Poltergeist 2? When it comes, let me sure to like, share, and subscribe. Goes without saying, the next one's going to be Poltergeist 3, and after that is the remake. We're in the middle of a review series here, folks. So, yeah. Thank you for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.